What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Monday edition of the Energy News Beat Daily Stand-Up here on this gorgeous, as I mentioned, Monday, November 21st, 2022. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, energynewsbeat.com, Stuart Turley. Be a quick week for us. Thanksgiving. You ready to go, man?
Oh, yeah. I actually had Thanksgiving yesterday. Nice big turkey and everything. And then I get Thanksgiving on Thursday. And then I get to have Thanksgiving with my parents. So what a great week. I'm going to love it.
Like well, we
9,000 miles.
That's the one thing about living in Texas, man. You guys drive everywhere. It's absolutely insane. But we are excited to have you guys in. We appreciate you tuning in here on this busy Thanksgiving week. We will probably be coming to you today, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're not quite sure yet, but trust me, you can always find us here on the Energy News Beat podcast. Check us out online, energynewsbeat.com. We have a great show for you lined up today. Oil prices did not have a good day on Friday, so we'll cover all of that, what happened. Natural gas seems to be a little choppy. Stu has some great stories specifically involving China and Russia switch natural gas payments to their own currencies. The political fallout, the energy fallout from that will be massive. He'll cover all of that. Skyrocketing fuel prices and energy are actually driving deforestation. Gotta love that. He'll keep us up to date on that. And then also, guys, watch out. Fed coin and digital currencies are coming to the United States. It's not going to be good. Stu will cover all that and a bag of chips. But first, guys, this show is brought to you by our wonderful sponsor, energynewsbeat.com, the world's greatest website. All of the stories you read on here are available on Energy News Beat. You can check out the link in the bio below. Stu does a great job of making sure that website has all of the best energy news out there. I specifically work on the oil and gas side, but Stu makes sure that no stone is unturned when it comes to making sure you have the resources and tools to be an informed decision maker in the energy market. Please check us out, www.energynewsbeat.com. But enough of the pleasantries, Stu. You've got a great list of stories for us. Where do you want to start?
We got a high-ranking one. Okay, the first two really blend into each other. This first one is Escobar, goodbye G20, the U.S. dollar, hello BRICS plus. Now, the start of this really is people are wanting to get away from the U.S. dollar. And this is really an issue, especially with our current administration insulting the Saudis, insulting people. And so when we take a look at this particular one, BRICS is now extending out to BRICS plus. And what that means is BRICS covers, I think, 35% of the countries in the world. BRICS plus, 50% of the population of the earth is going to move away from the dollar standard.
Now, help out me and the rest of the uneducated listener base here. What is BRICS?
BRICS is the company the list of countries that are made up of China. Let's take a look here at the list. I knew you'd ask me that.
I'm trying to learn something today.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. And here I am. Russia, India, China is already part of it. They're looking to get Iran, Argentina, Algeria, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Afghanistan, Indonesia just applied, Bali, and then the next wave, Kyrgyzstan, UAE, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Bangkok, Nigeria, and Nicaragua, and there's more. So when you talk about this,
and what do? They just signed a pact to trade with each other? Like what does this mean?
In the currencies, and it's individual, they're bringing up their currencies to transition and trade. And that goes with this article with The next article coming in here is Russia and China switch national currencies and payments for gas. Biden's foreign policy helped turn that. Here's the problem with that, Michael, and that is, you remember the fist bump that lived on in infamy. President Biden insulted the crown prince 2 years ago. And then when he begged for oil, he then went over and said, I can't shake hands. So he fist bumped it. Within 15 minutes, he then shook the hand of the king, and the prince is looking on. And then he insulted them again. He asked them to not cut production until after the elections. So this has been a real black eye for the United States. So in this article with Russia and China, that's just another example. Russia has, let me get those numbers here. They have a new pipeline going to China, and they have already shipped an unbelievable amount of natural gas. Let me get that number for you here. It is nuts.
10.4 billion cubic meters of natural gas.
Yes. And it was the Siberia pipeline, which has an annual gas capacity of 38 billion, and they're putting in another pipeline. So the new pipeline, we talked about that quite a while ago, but it has been on several articles that I wrote, and it is amazing because Russia was being sanctioned. China was paying for it so that they could get the natural gas. Unbelievable. So anyway, those two articles go together. You're taking a look at when countries, now, Michael, let me ask you this. What happens when countries move off of the dollar standard?
Well, it just, it stopped. The first thing it does is it significantly weakens whatever currency originally was being traded. So not having, I mean, one of the reasons why we're in this sort of inflationary environment right now is that the dollar isn't really backed by anything. It's available to be printed. Having oil be traded using American dollars probably helped us curb off the worst of inflation. Because if you actually look around the world, countries are experiencing way more inflationary pressures than we are. And it's already bad. I mean, you go to Trump is at the store this morning at Walmart, you try to buy eggs, that's like $5. It's insane. Like, what are kids, what are high school kids doing now? We used to go get eggs all the time, drive around and throw them at people. You can't even do that anymore because it's too expensive. So maybe there's one good thing that's going on from inflation. But so it just can constantly devalues and will continue to devalue currency if there's nothing pegged to it. It's why, inflation nuts keep yelling, go back to the gold standard, because that means your currency is pegged to something. And have us pegged to oil has probably for the past 30 years staved off massive inflation, because you can always go trade oil and get cash in an equivalent standpoint.
Right. But guess what the administration has done? That brings up another article on this one that feeds right into this next article. And the next article is skyrocketing fossil fuel energy prices driving the deforestation of Europe as citizens try to keep warm. There are about 4 different aspects to this story, Michael. First off, it is extremely related to Scotland cut down 14 million trees to make way for wind turbines.
That story went absolutely nuts on our website because it's one of the, it's an example of the energy hypocrisy that's out there.
Absolutely, Michael. It went bazonkers. And I could see that when I put this one up, the whole world started going boom, 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 boom. And it's because of the energy hypocrisy. What you were talking about is the Biden administration has declared a war on the oil and gas. this is what we've always said. This is my belief. We need to use energy to get people out of poverty. Let's use wind, let's use solar, let's use everything. I don't care, but let's let the markets decide, get the cheapest energy to the people. That being said, Germany used to be the poster child. They have printed money until they could get there. Now the renewables have failed. They are now begging for everything, and then they let Biden absolutely control them. This is a sad article from the standpoint is that in Poland, this is really Romania, excuse me, Greenpeace Romania says illegal logging is particularly bad, and more than half of the wood processed into pellets comes from illegal logging. Now, this also follows along with the rainforest that California is directly attributed to for tearing apart the rainforest. We'll go into that in another time. So blackouts are going to happen through Europe. Here's the sad part. It's coming to the favorite U.S. place near you, and it's in the Northeast. We'll cover that in a different time. So all three of these are actually related to each other as far as articles go, Michael. Isn't that weird? I mean, they're really not, but they are. I mean, they are following a pattern.
And I would say this, I would say this from a high level. I am less hard on European leaders than I am on US leaders for the fact that in the United States, we have enough fossil fuel resources between natural gas and oil to power us solely for the next 100 years, without a doubt. 500 years. In Europe, you don't have those type of reserves. You have to somehow go by, like Japan. Japan's in a pickle. They just don't have oil and gas nationally. It's not their fault. It's just a product. It's a product of where they are geographically. So they're always going to be reliant on imports. The United States shot ourselves in the foot by being reliant on foreign governments and other people that don't have our best interests at heart in order to secure our energy future. And that's why, you know, you go back to Biden insulting Saudi Arabia. I don't like the Saudis. I want my president to insult them. They kill people at random. They're terrible people. The fact is we shouldn't have to be begging them to pump more oil because we've done such a bad job on our end to secure and develop our own natural resources when it's literally in our backyard. That's my entire thing with this.
And I'll disagree with you on the Saudis in a little bit. I do not condone them. Huh?
Good people?
Yeah, no, the Saudi Arabian government has, go ahead and look like that. I'll tell you, the Saudi Arabian government, there are things that I don't agree with them on. And that's the way that I need to phrase that, because look at the CIA. CIA invented LSD. Now you're telling me, now come on, and that is a fact. They admitted that they put it out there on 10,000 people. They turned loose on it for mind-controlled drugs. I'm not going to judge the Saudi Arabian people for that. The other thing I'm not going to judge the Saudi Arabian people for is a simple fact that another article came out yesterday, and that was that the green future by Saudi Arabia, they're putting out everything they can do to green, but they're not cutting oil production because they're going to use that to pay for their green. They think in years of, they think of future in decades and beyond. Our politicians think of the current election and screw with our strategic oil reserves in order to get 4 votes. Well,
I think you hit the nail on the head there. The life cycle and the fact that in America, every 4 to 8 years, you have an entire new regime come in and completely, you know, you're zigging and you're zagging. So you do have a point there in the fact that our politics does not lend itself to stability. It lends itself to wherever the market goes.
But it's also the people that elect these, and I'm going to call politicians knuckleheads. I quite honestly am disgusted with most all politicians, and especially our federal agencies. And if I get shut down, so be it. We'll find out. But the other day when I said we got flagged, me and Irina Slav got flagged by the UN for talking bad about climate change. Climate change, I don't care about. It's about getting the low cost power to the people. I'm going to move to the next one here. And I always love it when you and I disagree. We're not just yes men to each other. You tell me your opinion all the time, Michael. That's why I treasure our friendship. Here's this one. FedCoin, it starts out with a trial run. This could be the demise of the free world.
Yep.
What do you think? This is actually the digital USD. The banks are trying it out, Michael. And quite honestly, this is a control mechanism like you would not believe. We just saw the FTX debacle. With FTX, it started with our government printing money.
Mm-hmm.
We gave it to Ukraine, and there is a tie from Ukraine to FTX. And then the knucklehead that was the head of FTX, he was the second largest donor to the Democrats behind George Soros. So there is a direct line between the Democrats that voted to give Ukraine. I'm not saying we don't need to support the Ukrainians. We need to support them, but I want an audit of every dime we gave and how many bullets we gave them in order to do that. This is absolutely a despicable story. The existence of a government backdoor or spyware becomes a real possibility, and given the state's track record, a real likelihood. We just saw that with our beloved knucklehead. He gets the IR Investor of the Week here, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. I think the FTX debacle, while tragic, in my opinion, it doesn't change. I still think cryptocurrencies in general and on-chain owning your own currency is actually, in theory, a good thing. And we can have the debate later about whether
I agree
about
with
the
that.
blockchain. The Fed coin scares the living bejeebus out of me for a couple reasons. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this whole social credit system is real in China right now. If you don't comply with their rules, they turn off your credit cards. They ding you and don't allow you to. I mean, it's insane right now. There are COVID restrictions right now that are going on that will cover in oil prices. I mean, if you don't think that stuff is coming here, if you don't believe that the government doesn't want to have more say in what you can and can't do, you are fooling yourself a little bit, because we've seen, even through COVID, even after all of the data was out there and all of the data on vaccines and all that stuff, we don't have to get into that. It's clear they were not necessarily looking at how do we get more people more freedom. It was, how do we control the population more? And that's where this stuff scares me. We're already on digital currency. To think that we're not on a digital currency, there is not a scam, but I mean, when's the last time, Stu, you paid for something in cash? Rarely.
Every chance I get.
Well, okay, you're probably paying in pennies. I couldn't tell you the last time I paid in cash was when I lost my debit card 3 weeks ago, and I had to go actually walk into a bank, which I didn't know what to do. I felt like a blind guy in a store, like, oh, where am I? What do I do? And actually withdraw cash and hand it to people. I had to wash my hands 5 times a day.
Oh,
so,
Michael, come off it. When you lost your wallet off of our dock, you got to be kidding me. What goes?
That was the worst. That was the worst. Well, that was everything. That was everything. That was the ID, the credit cards. That was everything. At least 3 weeks ago, it was just my debit card, so I could at least navigate. That was the worst. I couldn't fly. It was bad. It was bad.
Okay, what goes? Thump, thump.
Me, when I see my wallet floating to the bottom of the ocean. Gotta love it. Anything else, Stu, before we kick it over to me?
Yeah, it's all you, baby. It's all you.
Well, we're going to wrap it up quick, guys, here, because, again, not much happened on Friday other than our souls got ripped out on the crude oil side. We started the day trading at $83. Oops, we saw all the way down to $78 before settling at 80.26. We're recording this the Sunday, November 20th. It stands about 255 right now. Broncos come on in about 10 minutes. Whoop, whoop, go Broncos. But what you saw on Friday was just another sign that demand is the driver going forward. Supply, while important, we saw OPEC and Saudi Arabia come out on Friday again and say we are cutting demand by 400,000 barrels a day. Saudi Arabia is going to take about 250,000 of that, and still oil prices tumbled. Why? I mentioned earlier in our discussion with China, the lockdowns in China, the continued lockdowns are really hampering oil demand and analysts' future predictions on what oil demand. We know from Kepler data last week that the amount of tankers inbound for China has dropped basically in half over a 3-week span. That's not good. Now, is that due to the fact that they spent the first 6 months stockpiling crude oil? Yeah, probably was, because they were buying at discounted Russian prices. But still, that doesn't lend itself when they're not buying. What's up?
They were also buying it from our SBR.
They've been buying it from everywhere. So they, and we don't know Chinese stock data. We never will. But my guess is they have very high level of oil stocks. And part of the reason why you're seeing a slowdown in crude oil buying from them is probably due to that fact. But it doesn't matter. They're buying less crude now, which means oil prices will slump. It's the fact of the beast right now. Demand is outweighing supply. I wish there was some more analysis we could give around that. But it's really the case. Demand has been weak. Expectations for demand are weak. Therefore, oil prices tumble. Where do they go from here? I don't know. I was telling Stu before the show, there's a lot of people going to look pretty dumb come a couple months from now when oil's still 85, 90 bucks. Maybe. I'm not saying it will be, but, well, Goldman Sachs said it was going to be 200. I got people I work with on a daily basis screaming for 150. Not saying it couldn't go there, but it doesn't. Outside of a war, a new development in the war with Ukraine, I don't see how oil prices push up double.
I was one of the 120s. My calculation showed for the whole year it would have been 120. I was wrong, and I'm off. But I am still a permabull on oil. And you and I had an argument right before the show, or a discussion, because you and I don't argue, we just discuss. With every 4-letter word in between that anyway, but the whole thing was, when you take a look, you said, Stu, you know everything there is about geopolitical bull crap. And I do. And she goes, you said there's nothing that we can predict about a war in oil. And I said, what about the 2 missiles that hit Poland? And you're like, all right, quit it.
Well, okay. What I said specifically was if your thesis is oil and gas prices are going up and are going to 150 because of a new war event, Ukraine does something crazy, Russia does something crazy and launches a nuke. Unless you have a credentialized background in studying geopolitics and you actually have some data behind that, which you do, but 99% of people who make that prediction don't, you're basically just gambling. If your thought is, hey, well, we're going to have demand swing back, we're going to see a bigger supply crunch which regardless of what the demand looks like, if we enter a huge supply crunch, that will raise oil prices. If this Russian embargo really does go through and we see, a quarter of the, world's oil supply get cut off, those things, I'll take you a little bit more seriously in your predictions than when you say, Russia's going to nuke somebody and oil prices are going to the moon.
I've never said
you're just gambling then.
Right.
But unfortunately, you're qualified to make that decision. So, as always, I will trust your opinion. Are you revising your oil prediction then? Where you feel like for the next, month to 2 months?
I think you're right. It's going to hover between the 80 and 90. But here's the problem. We are facing some of the most horrific winter and energy portions in Europe. And let me caveat this for here real quick. Spain, which has got a lot of the LNG degasification, is stuffed. All their storage is stuffed, and they're still, I think it was 12 tankers are still trying to offload. That's going to really pull demand away from our LNG until they can get those things offloaded and all that.
Mhm.
Now, when you take a look at what we just talked about that when they're burning all the forests, they're also bringing in oil. Oil shipments into Europe are up because they're going to be burning oil instead of natural gas. So there is going to be demand in Europe. And there's also huge supply constraints on refined products. Diesel is going short all over the world. So anyway, there are some things that are going to cause some real heartburn.
But I do remember this really great podcast that covers daily energy news talk about why demand destruction was more dangerous than supply. Do you remember that, Stu? What was the name of that podcast?
I believe that was you. Oh, me.
Oh, wait, it was you. So yes, I agree. Supply, if supply crunch is so big, we could see a huge upward mobility. I'll be interested to see if it goes there. Now, on the natural gas side, this is where I think we could, we're trading at $6.37 right now, with the market closing about $3 $6.30. I firmly believe we could see $12 natural gas. I don't think that's out of the question for a couple reasons. One, last week we had a 60 BCF build in natural gas storage. It's going to be the last week in a while that we see we see natural gas builds globally. We're going to, Tudor, Pickering, and Holt, natural gas, Intel are both expecting somewhere between 100 and 120 BCF draw, and that'll probably continue weekly for the next couple months. Why? Winter. If you're up in the Northeast right now, you're absolutely getting pounded. They actually did legit get like 6 feet of snow. I didn't believe the forecast, but they actually did. So shout out to everybody who's listening in the Northeast right now. We hope you can dig yourself out. And unlike Texas, you still have power, which again, still cracks me up. You get a 1/4 inch of snow here, the state shuts down. You've got the Northeast gets pounded with 6 feet of snow, and they're able to take off, and the Buffalo Bills were able to fly on Saturday from Buffalo to Detroit with 6 feet of snow. Texas gets a 1/4 inch of snow, shuts down. So if that tells you the strength of ERCOT, nothing else will.
No,
but that's a story for another time.
Michael, it's the trucks. In Texas, have you seen the trucks yet? Do you know how fast
they make trucks that are 2-wheel drive? Who makes a truck that's 2-wheel drive? It's called the Texas edition. Just cracks me up. So from a natural gas side, I think there's a lot of upside to be had. Freeport LNG facility, again, coming online in January at what could be the height of draws from the United States natural gas storage. That could cause a huge ripple effect upward. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be weather dependent. Weather models change all the time. So I can't necessarily predict, it's going to continue to get colder than analysts expect. We'll just have to see what rolls out. But from a fundamental side, I firmly believe we're entering a cyclical bull cycle, and may not see $12 natural gas. It's getting a little crazy, but $8, $9, $10 natural gas, I believe that's right in line for what we're seeing. And even with $6 natural gas and $80 crude oil, every oil company in America should be printing money hand over fist. You should not be in I don't know what we're going to do. We don't quite have, if you can't make money at $80 oil and $6 natural gas, find another industry. And I'm sorry. Sorry you had to hear that from me, but I'm here to explain the truth, Stu.
Oh yeah. I believe you.
Thank you. Besides that, I think the only other thing on the finance side I thought was funny, Stu, you ran this story yesterday. We already know that Britain is attempting to impose a 75% tax on the UK oil and gas production. Get this now. They're trying to go after offshore wind and impose a new 45% levy on electrical generators that include offshore wind for January 2023. There's only one word to describe it, Stu. There's one word to describe this: stupid.
Yeah.
They hate energy. It's not even now about renewables. It's about the fact that they want to make people poorer by having them get less access to energy. Because we know cheap, abundant energy is the number one thing that skyrockets people from lower to middle class. Confirmed.
This isn't even stupid, Michael. It's stupid. So instead of, as you read it as stupid, it's got to be stupid.
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable. And now here's the stupid part, and that is, if you take a look at Biden's administration, they are looking at causing. There's two things that we were talking about last week, and that is putting bans on diesel products or refined products by requiring them to put in requirements for more storage. All that's going to do is yank the price up to the consumers. And what it does is it yanks the world price up because it messes on the world stage. So when you ask me why I'm also kind of bullish on some prices, I'm hearing rumors that they're also thinking about doing that on the natural gas side of cutting it. So putting bans on it, on exports. So if that does happen, the world oil and gas will go through the roof.
Yeah, I more so think it's just going to people are just going to pull out of Britain. You're going to go back to the point where now Britain has zero domestic oil and gas production. We've seen what's happening in the United States. We're subjugated to fly around the world and beg people to pump more oil when we could be doing that here and should be doing it here. So I disagree with you a little bit that oil and gas prices are going to spike because of that. I just think it's going to completely disincentivize any new oil and gas production and even new energy production. If you were trying to provide energy in the UK, I would get out now. This is a horrible sign that now they're going after offshore wind. What's next? Sooner or later, they're going to be shipping people hamsters so they just have little wheels spinning. That's about all you're going to be able to do in England because but then at that point, these mice will poop and then it's a biohazard or something. So they'll come up with some way to tax, I don't know what to think of this new this new prime minister, man. I don't know what to think of this guy, but anybody who's in depth on UK politics, feel free to check out our survey and our email below. You can send us your thoughts in there.
You bet.
That's really all I got on the finance side, Stu. What are you watching for this week? I know it's probably going to be a light week. We'll see. I guarantee somebody tries to slip in a little Thanksgiving press release, so I wonder what that'll be. But anything you're watching for this week?
I'm still trying to run down some rumors that I'm hearing around the world, and they're not too hot. I'm trying to get my contacts to cough up some goodness.
You got to bribe them with some of that turkey. Really, again, the only thing I'm wondering is, what does the demand outlook look like? I'm going to be looking for any sort of news that comes out around demand, because that is going to drive where, particularly on oil prices, where it's going. On the natural gas side, again, hopefully it warms up a little bit. But again, this Thursday EIA drop, which I think they're going to do Friday or Wednesday. I don't know, because Thursday is actually Thanksgiving. So I'll come back tomorrow and have what day that drops. But this week's EIA drop is going to be spicy because it's going to really tell us, has the tide turned into withdrawal season, or are we even still in a build? It's going to be withdrawal. The question is how much. But with that, guys, we appreciate you sticking it through us. We understand it's a Monday. It's a short week. You've only got 2 to 3 days left in the office. Hopefully 2 if you have to show up on Wednesday. Hopefully it's a half day. Stay strong. Thanksgiving is coming. You'll be here. Plate of turkey, plate of mashed potatoes. But until then, guys, thanks for checking us out. www.energynewsbeat.com for Stuart Turley. I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow. Today's episode of the Energy Newsbeat podcast is brought to you by Enverus. The energy industry faces massive challenges every day, and the events over the last 2 years have caused huge disruptions like never before. Companies in the energy industry need actionable intelligence and a single source of truth that brings all the data together. Enverus is the energy specialized technology partner that provides intelligent connections for a global energy ecosystem. Only Enverus has the analytics, people, experience, and industry scope to connect the right data and information in the right way to discover missed opportunities and deliver fast outcomes. Find out more at Enverus.com. That's ENVERUS.com.